time to call to order the regular meeting of the McAlester City Council, Tuesday, January 14th. We do have a quorum, and we have Kelly Benson from Northtown Church of Christ here to lead us in an invocation and pledge.
Stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Dear God, we thank you for this opportunity to be able to lift up to you the issues of this city and this community. We pray that you'll give guidance to those that are making decisions, and you'll bless the people that are presenting things that make an impact on the folks that live here. Lord, we pray that you'll bless McAlester with continued prosperity and opportunities to grow and make an impact, not only in this city, but around the state and throughout the world, Lord. I'm grateful for all the people who live here, and we pray that you'll bless this council. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Harrison.
Here.
Pritchard.
Here.
Mayor.
Here. We're on to citizens' comments on non-agenda items. Residents may address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda. Residents must provide their name and address, and council requests that comments be limited to 5 minutes. Have not had anybody sign up. If anybody is wanting to address us on a non-agenda item that's in the audience, seeing no one, will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. The agenda tonight consists of A, approval of minutes from December 10th, 2019 regular meeting of the McAlester City Council. B, approval of minutes from the December 17th, 2019 special meeting of the McAlester City Council. C, approval of claims for December 11th, 2019 through January 7, 2020. D, consider an act upon a resolution supporting an application to the Recreational Trails Program from the City of McAlester to construct a new Parker Trail. E, consider an act upon a resolution supporting an application to the Recreational Trails Program from the City of McAlester to refurbish the trail at Rotary Park. F, consider an act upon to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a real property lease agreement with Air Methods Corporation. And G, concur with mayor's appointment of Donna Hobbs to the Housing Authority Committee to replace Ms. Betty Pickle. Would anyone like anything removed? All right, I'll take a motion in a second on the council. Motion, Councilman Smith, second Councilman Smith, second Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Stevens.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Pritchard.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We are on to public hearing. Any person interested in any ordinance listed under scheduled business shall now have an opportunity to be heard in accordance with Article 2, Section 212B of the city charter. We actually have 4 tonight, so I'm going to read them all, and then we will discuss them individually if that's the will. First is an ordinance of the City of McAlester, Oklahoma, amending ordinance number 2656, which established the budget for fiscal year 2019-20, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for a severability clause, and declaring an emergency. The next is an ordinance amending the general zoning ordinance and accompanying map thereto, known as General Zoning Ordinance number 1843, by changing the classification of the zoning district for Lot 6 and Block 606, City of McAlester, formerly known as South McAlester, Pittsburg County, State of Oklahoma, from R1B Single Family Residential District to R2 Family Dwelling Duplex District. Third is an ordinance amending the general zoning ordinance and accompanying map thereto, known as General Zoning Ordinance number 1843, by changing the classification of the zoning district for the westerly 80 feet of the easterly 230 feet of Lot 29 and the westerly 80 feet of the easterly 230 feet of Lot 30 and northerly 30 feet of the easterly 150 feet of Lot 30 and the easterly 230 feet of Lot 31, less the northerly 10 feet thereof, all in Block 10, Connolly Addition, Pittsburg County, State of Oklahoma, from R1B Single Family Residential District to C2 Neighborhood Convenience District. And the fourth is an ordinance of the City of McAlester, Oklahoma, amending the McAlester City Code, Chapter 62, Land Development, Planning, Zoning, and Subdivisions, Article 4, Division 2, the uses permitted after review for Section 62-255, R1A, Single Family Residential District, Section 62256 R1B Single Family Residential District, Section 62258 R2 Two Family Dwelling District, and Section 62259 R3 Multiple Family Dwelling District, amending the development standards of Section 62274 Cottage House Development Overlay District and repealing all conflicting ordinances. Take a motion in a second to open the public hearing. Motion, Councilman Reed, second, Councilman Smith. Any discussion? Corr, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, we are now in a public hearing, so anyone that would like to address us concerning the first ordinance, please step forward. Seeing no one, we'll move to the second. Seeing no one, we'll move to the third. Seeing no one, we will move to the fourth. Seeing no one, I will take a motion in a second to close the public hearing. Motion, Councilman Smith, second, Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Corr, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. We will now move to agenda item number 1, discussion and presentation of the quarterly report from the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center. Ms. Hugel.
I have Henry Lear with me as well. Sure. So you all had packet information, and we want to answer some questions that you may have and just talk through this. We won't take a lot of your time, but we like to report back some of the work that we've been doing. Will it take a few minutes? You can see that it's on. Okay.
Hey Dana, would you spend just a couple of minutes, or spend a minute explaining the relationship between the city of McAlester and your organization and the relation and the funding mechanism?
Yes, so we are housed at Eastern Oklahoma State College, but we are part of the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center. Oklahoma Small Business Development Center is funded in matching with the program, federal program with the SBA, and then local partner matches. Our area is a 4-county consortium. Latimer, LaFleur, Haskell, and Pittsburg counties all partner together to service and allow Henry and I to service primarily those 4 areas. We also work with our advisors across the state to advise in specific service specialties. But as far as our financial relationship, there are 11 entities that fund the partnership match for the SBA dollars for our 4-county area. And the city of McAlester has committed to funding the position that is Henry's position. And so it's a dollar for dollar match with the SBA funding, the federal funding that allows this. So any questions about that before we get started? So we do provide services to small businesses at no cost to the small business. So I think that's always important to highlight. And for those of you who are small business owners, you know how difficult it is sometimes to get the help that you need and be able to afford that. So this is the mission of the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center. I know you all are aware of that, but I wanted to share that for anyone who may be here and not familiar. We provide confidential, high quality, no cost entrepreneurial and small business management advising in order to help Oklahomans start and grow businesses. So these are our current clients for Eastern Center. So that 4-county area that we talked about. So we like to show you just that last quarter, kind of that January to November, and then kind of our final for the year so that you can see, you know, quarter by quarter how we've grown and changed. And so when we report back, because we report to you all regularly, you can kind of see what's going on with us. So for that 4-county area, we served 149 clients with over 900 hours of consulting time. We had 9 business starts. Actually, we squeezed a 10th one in right at the end of the year. We have 36 new jobs created, $1.7 million in loans for the 4-county area, over $400,000 in individual investment, $10,000 in other capital. In this particular instance, it was a grant. $9.3 million in sales increase, and 58 long-term clients. Long-term clients are clients that we have worked with for 5 hours or more on specific projects. On that slide, I did want to point out that all of those dollar figures that are reported back, all of those business starts, all of those jobs created are things that those clients attribute to working with us. So we cannot count anything that the client does not sign a form saying this is due to work that we've done together. So just because we've helped someone and we know that they've gone into business, we can't just automatically count them as a business start unless they reach back out to us and complete a survey saying that that was helpful to them. So I think that's important for you all to know. It's not something we can just gather or make up on our own. We have to have documentation to support that.
So, like Dana said, I'm the advisor here in Pittsburg County. Here's our Pittsburg County numbers. You can see that we served 76 clients. Just so you guys know, some of our numbers and our current clients, you might see it change throughout the packet. That's because some of our clients come on and drop off just as they need help. But this is the total number that we've helped
For
So,
2019.
for 2019. And so we've helped 76 clients, 3 business starts, 10 new jobs created, and had $1.3 million of capital infusion. And you can see the breakdown by zip code. So since we're in our 4-county consortium, our counties are very competitive, and I am too. I like to see that Pittsburg County is the #1 county for the amount of businesses we're supporting. And see, Haskell is a close second, and with Flattery being 23, LaFleur being 22, Pittsburg County at 40. And like Dana said, we work with in a statewide network, and if other advisors have clients that fall into Dana's expertise, we do help assist those clients also. So that's where that other comes into play.
So you saw the number discrepancy there because those are active
Yeah.
clients that are currently
Yeah,
active
these
at
are the
end
clients
of
that
the
are
year.
currently seeking help as of right now. So you can see the types of industries that we're working on, the amount of full-time employees that we help support, part-time, the annual sales that we assist with. You can see we work a lot in the retail, but we have been expanding into some government contracting and help get some of these other numbers, assistance with these other numbers.
So we work with businesses that are not just new businesses. That's a common misconception, and we like to let you know that we work with businesses in all stages. So you can see here that we work with those startup businesses and those that are even pre-venture, as well as those who are family businesses that have been handed down for a number of generations. So you can kind of see how many of those types of businesses we're working with in the 4-county area. Some of those, if we break some of this down in Pittsburg County, we're concerned that it may give away some of the confidentiality of working with some of those clients. So this particular slide and the last slide were actually for the 4-county area, so that you're aware of that. So oftentimes people ask us, well, what do you talk to businesses about and what kind of support? And so this slide shows us the different types of support that we give the clients.
Everybody.
We'll just pause a minute.
Sorry.
It's okay. So we do work a lot with business startups because we know that a lot of times getting that firm foundation is really, really important for businesses and helps them stabilize early on. But you can also see sources of capital is an area that we provide a lot of support because people come to us and they're not sure where to go for lending or how to get the capital support that they need. So we work with them on that, getting their financial projections together, making sure that their finances are in order to go for lending, and assessing the types of capital that are available and what might work best for them. Making sure that their accounting and record keeping is in order, technology. We do a lot of marketing and sales support for those retail businesses. You can see that government procurement slice is a little bit small, but we're really working on growing that and trying to increase government contracting among our our clients in this area. We feel like that's an opportunity that's underutilized for many of our clients. So each year we have the opportunity to also do training events and speaking engagements. Our primary goal and our primary focus is one-on-one advising, but sometimes, especially for new business startup or for tax issues, it's better to get a group of people in a room and train everyone at once. And so each year we offer a number of, this year we're offering 14 new business startup trainings. We partner with KTC and the Choctaw Nation Small Business to offer those throughout the area, but we offer one each month here at KTC. And we partner with the Oklahoma Tax Commission to offer one of those here in McAlester as well each month. So I wanted to put this slide in to let you guys know that we do things in addition to the one-on-one advising to help our clients as well. Special note, we've got some trainings coming up on business disruption to help our businesses get ready for any type of construction and highway projects, those kind of things that are coming up. At the end of the month, there will be a training on that to just help businesses prepare and be proactive rather than reactive. So I think that's very important. And then we told you that there's a team of us, and this you'll have to, yeah. So we do a number of trainings across the state, and these are often very specialized. You can just go ahead and say that we're supporting businesses across the state, and all of our clients in this area get access to all of this training, and they get access to the advisors that teach all of these. And I just wanted to show some pictures. So I was the state star for Oklahoma this year. Nationally, they recognize a state star for every state for the work that they've done. And so President Smith really wanted me to include that in the slide. So just wanted to mention that. But you'll see that there is a team of us that's working around the state. There's a photo there of a company you may be aware of, Hertz Donuts. We normally don't get to talk about our clients, but Hertz has actually signed a bunch of release forms, and ESPN, when they came to Tulsa, wanted to do some filming there. So they sent us that photo and wanted us to share those in some of our promotions so that they're proud of the fact that they've worked with us. And then we're working with a lot of clients that have to do with technology and innovation and starting to do that government contracting that we spoke about. And so these are some of our advisors that have been working with congressmen to launch some of those products. So I just wanted to share so that you kind of know that when we talk about the team across the state, that we bring those resources here as well. So do you all have questions for us?
In just a second.
Adjust your eyes.
I need to go through.
Yes.
I didn't know if I needed to go through the mayor or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure about the formalities. But
Yeah, okay. It's okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. One of our major plants, they're having a layoff. And do you approach those businesses, or do you have to wait for individuals to approach you if they want to start their own business? Because it looks, I hope that some of them will do that rather than just to move. So how do you handle that, or is that even handled or a consideration?
Well, so it is a consideration, because that's oftentimes when we see people start new businesses is because of a major life change. And so we are, and I know Kirk has already kind of let it be known that we're available to make any assistance. If they reach out to us, obviously we react, but we're trying to let them know that we're here and available. In addition to that, Kirk actually met with me today about trying to work on other projects that may be able to bring some business to some of those plants that are having some financial difficulties.
Does it look like they want to stay in McAlester, or would they want to put their business in another county? Do you know? Mixture.
The individuals that we've talked to generally want to stay in this area.
Okay. All right. And congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The CEO of Spirit contacted me, and they very much are going to be this. They're considering this a bump in the road, and it has to do with the Boeing plane,
Okay.
and because 50% of their revenue comes from Boeing. So once that's straightened out, they'll be ramping back up, and then they have a huge number of back order stuff.
Okay.
So I mean, it's
Makes
terrible. It's terrible for the people that are going to be laid off.
Mhm.
But there
But
is
a lot of those innovations that we see coming about are
Mhm.
coming about because people have specific skill
Right.
sets and they have
That's what I
great
was wondering.
ideas, but they don't know how to get a patent. And so they'll come to us and we'll help walk them through the patent process. We'll help them figure out if they need to license that for production or, what the best next steps are for them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. And I just want to congratulate you on being the Oklahoma Star.
Thank you.
That's a pretty big honor.
Thank you.
Anyone else, any comments or questions? Councilman Reed?
Last time you were here giving a presentation, I asked that the presentation be broken down to what you do in McAlester
Mhm.
and the impact. I mean, this is good information for the 4 counties.
Mhm.
But I asked that it be broken down like this for McAlester. McAlester citizens are providing tax money to help fund your office. And I don't think it's too much to ask that we get that information. I was just wondering why we didn't get it this time.
Well, the slide that shows 2019 cumulative for the county shows that there were business starts for the county. It shows the capital formation. Are you wanting the types of businesses for each?
I'm wanting the same information, except broken down specifically just for McAlester.
Okay.
How many
so-
new jobs were created in McAlester?
Okay,
How
we've
much?
got that.
How much investment? But we didn't get it.
Yeah, it's. Did you not in your packet? It's.
The only thing
What
we
is it?
had that
1,
broke
2,
down
3,
McAlester was the
4.
74501.
It was the fourth slide.
Yeah. How many clients were in McAlester?
And then underneath it on the left hand, it says 3 business starts, 10 new jobs created. Oh, that was for the county. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying.
Could we get that next
Absolutely.
time?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. We can send that to you. Can we send that out? Yeah, we'll send that out to you.
Okay, thank
Why
you.
don't you send that to Kirk and he can distribute it to
Absolutely.
the council?
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to agenda item number 2, consider and act upon authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Allen Plummer Associates Incorporated for the evaluation of the city of McAlester East and West wastewater treatment plants.
Mayor, members of the council, tonight we have David Howerton, Josh Freisinger, and Alan Schwartz. Sorry if I butchered your names. We've been working with Plummer and Associates now for 6 or 9 months. They've actually toured all of our facilities. They spent some time on the ground with Dalton Carlton before he left the organization. It's been working with Wayne Russell, our utilities wastewater manager. So we've been working with these individuals for quite some time now. We feel based on the comprehensive plan, it's time to start looking at these wastewater plants and start evaluating them and see what the needs are and the requirements for our city to grow going forward. So at this time, I'd like to introduce David Howerton. He's going to talk about Plummer and Associates.
Yes, thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce our consulting firm, Plummer Associates. We it's warming up here. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I got to get it done. These folks don't want to stay all night. We're a firm of over 150 folks that work with water, treatment, pipelines, and permitting. We've got a lot of folks that work on these things. We do not do bridges or streets, airports, or landfills. We work with water. That's our focus. We're currently in 3 states with 9 offices. Our Oklahoma City office getting close to 10 years ago. I wanted to say something here about Mr. Plummer, who started from his garage in 1978, working with just he and his wife. And he recently retired this past summer, and so we don't have him. But I wanted to say the thing that means the most to me. I worked for the company years ago, left and came back. The thing that is most important to me about working with this company and the legacy that he leaves is quality and integrity. And that's what That's what we bring to you. We are plant engineers. That was one thing that Dalton was specifically looking for. We started visiting last spring with McAlester, and we have a couple hundred clients in the 3-state area. Repeat business is very, very important. We're very proud of that percentage. And as I said, nearly 3/4 of all that we do are with treatment plants. So if you just think of pipelines, plants, and permits, that's what we do. Our focus is on water. The reason we're here tonight just happened was fortunate for us that we came in 2019, that we were wanting to work for the city and very impressed with the revision to the comprehensive plan. And this being one of the goals of the comprehensive plan, to begin steps to upgrade the water lines, wastewater lines, and the city's 2 sewer plants. And the contract that we've drawn up and we're asking for the support and approval of the council is for us to start on the 2 wastewater plants. Lost my advance here. There it is. This is where we come in. Alan Swartz, that's here with us. He's the office manager in Oklahoma City. Josh is here, and he's the expert with the wastewater plants. You'll note they're both younger, and they do all the hard work and have the headaches and everything. And I'm going to turn the presentation over to Josh.
Thanks, David. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. My name is Josh Freisinger. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I've worked in the wastewater industry for 18 years. And this is pretty much all I do is look at treatment plants, see where they're at, and help cities figure out how to move forward to make sure that their treatment needs are being met. So one of the things we wanted to look at is what kind of treatment capacity do you need? Right now you have 2 plants. You've got the west plant rated at 2.5 MGD and the east plant rated at 2 MGD. And what we understand from talking to the city staff is that right now, both of those plants are operating near their rated capacity. So if something were to happen and a big industry were to come to town with a demand for new wastewater, that's not something that you'd be able to easily accommodate right now. If the population were to change significantly, that's probably not going to jump up on you as quickly, but what do you do? How do you react to that? And so that's one of the things that we want to help you guys think through. One of the issues that you've been dealing with is that water and wastewater is often out of sight, out of mind, and it doesn't necessarily get the attention it needs in terms of maintenance. And so if you think about your treatment plants like a vehicle, if you have a car, you know that you need to do a certain amount of maintenance every year just to keep it running. You've made that investment, but in order for it to stay reliable and performing well, you need to put a little bit of money and a little bit of TLC into it each year. You can put that off for a year or 2, but when it starts to go beyond that, you are now in a situation where you could have a catastrophic failure and then have very large costs associated with getting out of that. So typically, when you're looking at a water or wastewater treatment plant, you're looking at something on the order of 3 to 5% per year of maintenance for that asset. Now, looking at the plant you have now, the one of your plants, or each one of your plants, is valued at about $10 million. That's about how much it would cost to replace that full capacity. So you can imagine that one of those plants needs somewhere from $300,000 to $500,000 of maintenance per year. And if you look at both of the plants, now you're looking at $600,000 to $1 million per year just to stay on top of things. And because there's been years where this maintenance has not been going on, there are a number of things that have sort of built up over the years. It just hasn't received the attention so that it's in peak performing capabilities. Now you have a very good staff, and they've been able to continue to produce high quality wastewater effluent to discharge to the creek. They're able to meet the permit limits, but it becomes a struggle as that equipment gets older. And so what we'd like to do is go back and look at some of that infrastructure and see where it's at in its design life. Here's a few examples. If you're looking at something like treatment equipment, it's almost always made out of metal. Could be a mixer or a motor. You're going to get something like 20 years of life out of that. Concrete tank, you could get anywhere from 20 to 50 years, depending on how well it was built and how well it's been maintained. Pipelines and manholes, a little bit longer, 30 to 50 years. But those of you that are familiar with the infrastructure of McAlester know that almost everything that you have is older than that. Your pipelines are older, your treatment plant. Really, the last major upgrade that was done at the West plant was in 1985, I believe, and at the East plant, 1993. So there's been quite a lot of life that you've gotten out of that infrastructure, but it's getting near the end, and it's not necessarily where you have to replace it, but you need to pay special attention to it. And so some things can be done to make things last a little longer. For example, if you paint your steel, it won't rust as quickly. If the concrete has been maintained and there's not as much corrosion, it'll last a little longer. But as I mentioned, there really hasn't been a major improvement since the mid-1980s. And so if you go back and think about a car from the mid-1980s, what you would have to do to keep it up and running, this would be the time where you really want to take a careful look at what you've got. What we also want to do is take stock and see, what does the city of McAlester need? What do you need to serve your residents for domestic and commercial uses, but then also for your industries? And then what's the condition and capacity of your existing treatment plants? How much room do you have to accommodate some additional growth if it were to come? Got a little finicky clicker here. Oh, I see. Address that pop-up. All right. So what our goal is to help you develop a blueprint for the future and come up with some contingency plans for how to deal with different situations. So as I mentioned, we want to look at what the current needs are for both your city, but then if a new industry were to come to town, how much extra capacity do you have? And if you don't have enough capacity, how much would it cost to add that additional capacity? We also want to compare the capacity to your existing treatment plants, which serve different parts of town, so that you know which facility has how much extra capacity to help you in siting new industries that might be looking to come to town. We also want to take a look at the condition of all that existing equipment. This is a picture of the chlorine contact basin at the East plant. It has wood baffles in between the different parts of the basin, and you know, wood is one of those things that doesn't last forever, and it's time that they either get replaced with wood or maybe a different material, concrete or fiberglass, something that's going to help you get more life out of this facility without having to completely start over with an entirely new basin. We also want to compare your treatment capacity to your treatment needs. Is it possible that this basin can treat more than you think it can? We're going to go back and look at how this basin was sized originally, compare that to the current Oklahoma regulations, and see if we can maybe squeeze some extra capacity out of these plants, or with some very minor improvements, be able to get some extra capacity out of the plants. So we want to make a priority list to verify the capacity of both plants, and then help develop a plan for what are those emergency things that really need to be done right now to help get out of some problems that are being experienced by the staff right now. And then look forward, what are some things that could be done in the next few years, and then longer term, what are those improvements that will help keep the facilities running well into the rest of the century. We also want to come up with costs so you know what the numbers are if you do need additional capacity. If a situation like an industry wants to come to town, they're going to ask you right away what kind of wastewater treatment capacity you have to offer to them, And if it's more than what you have as excess capacity now, you want to be able to give them an answer very quickly because they want to make their plans about where to site their facility right away. And then we also want to look for potential to consolidate. It's possible we can put both plants at the same facility. So mothball one of the plants, put all the treatment at the other. That would reduce some staffing overhead, but it comes with some significant costs. So we want to see cost comparison wise, if that puts us in a better position or a worse position. And then finally, we want to help develop this blueprint so that whatever the roadmap is for expansion, you have a contingency in place for that, whether that's having to build new treatment equipment, replace equipment, look for some opportunities to save. When we visited both plants today, we saw a couple different things that are being done in a very labor-intensive way. And so there might be some opportunities just to make some upgrades there. The idea is that you focus the spending on where it's going to provide the greatest impact. We could spend tens of millions of dollars on upgrades, and it's not necessarily what you need. So what we want to do is identify where can we get the most for each dollar spent. And with that, we'd be happy to take any questions you guys have for us.
What you've looked, Mayor. So as far as what you've seen already, can you kind of just give us a rough estimate on the dollar cost? If we, that's impossible.
I can't give you an estimate on the dollar cost. What I can say is that the concrete is generally in good condition, but just about everything else is not. So there are pipes, valves, pumps that have rusted, have almost corroded away in some areas. I can see where plant staff has made some sort of in the field fixes to things, but they're not working quite the way they should. And they do require a lot of operator time to go and sort of stay on top of things because they're not in the best condition.
So how much longer do you think we have before it all goes to Hades?
It's a very complex system, so it's not like one thing is going to happen and the whole plant is gone.
Yeah.
But what might happen is in the middle of the night, a pipe might burst and wastewater gets spilled everywhere. Or you might suddenly get a bill for $500,000 to replace a piece of equipment that was unexpected.
All right. Thank you.
I looked through this contract. I mean, I'm not an attorney and didn't go deeply into it, but I can't find where the cost is.
About
Nothing down there.
2/3 of the way through, it's $64,510.
Yep.
Is total cost
That's basically to do a study to tell us what we need.
on
Yes.
page 5 of 9 there. And they'll be evaluating not only whether or not we need the two plants or it could be consolidated into one, but also giving us a working roadmap of what we need to do to solve this problem in the future, where we can get our biggest bang for our buck.
Vice Mayor Stevens?
I'm assuming you've done work in cities of our size and things like that, correct?
Yes.
How do we compare to that with our maintenance and things? And this isn't a slight on staff at all. I think they do the best they can, and we've got great people in place. I'm curious.
Yeah. In terms of the maintenance, I think your staff does a good job because I've seen what they've made do with. In terms of the condition of your infrastructure, it's pretty poor. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's
close.
close to it.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? To take a motion in a second. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Brown. Any further discussion? Corge, you call the roll, please.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on to agenda item number 3. Consider an act upon authorizing the city manager to enter into an interagency agreement with the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality to receive reimbursement up to $25,000 for costs related to the purchase of a new baler for the McAlester Recycling Center. Ms. Giacomo.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What you have before you is an agreement with the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality in response to an application to their solid waste fund to assist us in acquiring new equipment for the McAlester Recycling Center. We do expect that equipment to cost approximately $25,000, and that is the amount of money that they have offered us. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Go ahead.
Okay. So you're saying that they're giving us 25,000? Is this what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. And my question is, what department maintains the recycling center?
It's shared between our Public Works Department and our Community Services Department.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, take a motion and second to approve. Motion, Councilman Smith, second, Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on to agenda item number 4, consider and act upon an ordinance amending ordinance number 2656, which established the budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for a severability clause and declaring an emergency. Is it Ms. Swift? Is you?
It's Tony.
Is it Tony?
Mayor, members of the council, we have in Exhibit A1 tonight is our infrastructure account. And what we've done is as we've worked through the mid-year budget, we've realized we've looked at projects that can be carried forward and where we need to reallocate funds based on money that's been spent and anticipated needs for the rest of the year through June the 30th. As you can see, we are adding $165,000 for the secondary water source. This is the Coal Creek Pump Station. We're increasing the budget for the raw water relocation, an additional $70,000. We're adding $7,500 to the Talawanda Dam project. Water line replacement of $60,000 increase. We are increasing the sewer line replacement program, another $215,000 based on what we've seen here recently. We're adding $15,000 for the Clearwell evaluation out at the water treatment plant. We are decreasing the street reconstruction project account down $325,000. We're decreasing the contingency account $139,558. And we are decreasing the crack ceiling project of $67,942. These are based on what we feel we can get accomplished through June the 30th of this year. As you can see, it is a rearrangement of funds. It has no net increase or decrease to the fund itself. We're just looking at the projects that are necessary to be completed through June the
30th. Any questions?
I've got a
Councilwoman
quick question, if you don't mind. On this Clearwell,
Yes.
the balance before was it zero there? And what are you doing with the 15,000?
We are doing an evaluation. We have a very large leak
Okay,
at our Clearwell. One half of the facility is actually offline
okay,
right now. We're evaluating what we can do in order to solve that problem. And we're looking at many different things. 2 years ago, we tried sealant into the crack systems and the concrete crack systems. That didn't work. We're actually looking at plastic liners at this time.
okay.
We're looking at anything that's available out there to evaluate how to solve this problem. But what's happened is where joints are meeting the concrete, they're coming apart.
Okay,
And we've tried sealing them with different types of compounds and it hasn't worked to this date.
okay, so you have to do something different.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Pritchard?
You may have. What's the second page under this, the fiscal year 2019-2020? Budget amendments listed by fund. I'm sorry, I wasn't.
You're talking about the last page?
Yeah, there's only, I think, yeah. I mean, what is this showing me? I'm sorry. I can't even ask my question.
This is just,
I don't have a question.
this is changes to the budget that we've done over the past.
These are ones we made previously?
Some of them, yes. If you look
So
at
the
the
one-
dates to the left, that one was,
Yeah.
the first one was done on July the 9th.
We're just doing the one at the bottom tonight.
That is correct.
Oh, infrastructure.
And
Just keep track of what the budget amendments that we've done thus far.
Thank you.
We're like on number 12 right now.
And Councilman Pritchard, anything over $25,000 has to come to this council for approval, even though this has a zero of net effect to the actual item. We still want to bring that forward and let you know how we're rearranging those funds.
Anyone else? Take a motion in a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Smith, second, Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries, and this has an emergency with it, so I take a motion in a second on the emergency. Motion, Councilman Reed, second, Councilman Brown. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 5, consider an act upon authorizing the mayor to sign change order number 1 from Built Right Construction LLC in the amount of $4,075. This change order is for removal and replacement of sidewalk and add 15 days to the completion date for 5th and Miami Sewer Project. Mr. Burke.
Mayor, council, thanks for having us tonight. What you have in front of you, this is the sewer line that we put in on 5th and Miami. When we got out there, we found out that there was actually 2 gas lines in our way instead of 1. So we had to move the sewer line over. And at that point, we damaged we actually put the sewer line underneath the sidewalk. So we need to put the sidewalk back. The sidewalk was in very poor condition to begin with. I have pictures if anybody would like to look at that. But we also shortened up the line by 45 feet, which help offset the cost of the sidewalk itself.
Any questions, comments?
No,
Councilwoman Harrison?
Where are the pictures? Thank you.
I trust you. I trust you.
Yeah.
Looks like a sidewalk.
You trust me? Any questions?
Yes, could you tell us what we're looking at, please?
That's the sidewalks running east and west along Miami. The sewer line actually went up beside the sidewalk itself.
So on this is before the crack?
This is what it looked like before.
Okay,
And if you can look where the flags are, that's the gas line I was talking about.
okay,
And we had to run the sewer line right up beside it here. So this is this sidewalk is what had to be replaced.
okay.
And that's one we're going to be replacing. Here's a bigger view
Uh-huh.
out, and you can see the road right here.
Okay.
You can see the flags where the gas line was
Mhm.
and the sewer line right there.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions, comments? All right, take a motion in a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Reed, second, Councilman Smith. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 6. Consider an act upon authorizing the mayor to sign change order number 1 from Built Right Construction LLC in the amount of $17,000. This change order adds the replacement labor only of 4 each existing 16-inch wall pipes that are failing due to the construction, labor for additional fittings that are required, and the addition of the labor to install additional 30-inch valve that was added to the plans during final design review with the city and was mistakenly omitted from the bid schedule. The 30-inch valve was added to reduce the risk of water outage by eliminating the need to shut the system down and modifying the system an additional time for the Lake McAlester raw water main improvements. And I'm sure that was completely clear to everybody here. So,
Mayor, if I could, this is not Built Right Construction. This is Collins Waterworks.
okay.
He's doing the raw water at the raw water plant.
Yeah, so from what I can gather, we just basically forgot to put a 30-inch valve in the bid package, and now
In,
we're
in the
doing
bid package, it was in the plans. We decided to add that in there because we do not want to shut the system down no more than we have to. Every time you start them back up, you always had more leaks. Okay. And that's what happened to the wall piping we had. We did not have the wall piping in the original contract. Once we started the system back up on pump number 1, we sprung a major leak in there. We got it fixed, got it temporaried in, but we need to replace all 4 of the wall pipes that's out there at the McAlester Lake.
And this is the line that's coming off the dam that we were
That's
going
correct.
underground with, correct?
That's correct.
Are there any questions or comments? Vice Mayor Stevens?
I just one out of curiosity. It says wall pipes are failing due to the construction. That's previous construction, correct?
Well, they failed during construction.
Okay.
They're failed because they're corroded.
Okay. That's all I had.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Pritchard?
It's for $17,000. That's correct?
That's correct.
But isn't there an invoice in here for $7,000?
No, that is a request for a change order. The $7,000 is to replace the wall piping. $10,000 of it is for the 30-inch valve.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, take a motion in a second. Motion Councilman Smith, second Councilman Brown. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 7. Consider an act upon authorizing the mayor to sign the contractor's final pay estimate and certificate of substantial completion for the contract with Built Right Construction LLC for Section B Talawanda Dam 20-inch water main and accept the project is completed. You got the trifecta tonight.
I do. Tonight, this is the 20-inch line. This was the line that replaced the line that went down by the old plant down below the lake dam. If you remember, about a year ago or so, we had a major water break down there and ran the town out of water completely. We had a hard time getting it fixed. This basically moved the line up on top of the dam so that we can find it. It's no longer down in the bottom. The contractor went in there, did a really good job. We got the 20-inch line in. It's disinfected, it's approved, it's online. We did a final inspection. Did not have any punch items on the project itself. Really good job. We're recommending approving this project as complete.
Any questions? Take a motion in a second. Motion Councilman Reed, second Councilman Smith. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're on to agenda item number 8. Consider an act upon authorizing the mayor to sign the contractor's final pay estimate number 8 and certificate of substantial completion for the contract with Sunrise Construction LLC for the 10th Street Canal Bank stabilization and accept the project is completed. Mr. Vaughn.
Mayor, Council, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. This project was done just off of McAlester, between McAlester and Tennessee on 10th Street, that little short stretch there. It was successful and made it through the big storm Friday night, the put your shoes on kind of storm that came through to keep everybody on keel. The work is all complete now, and we are recommending that the project be accepted as complete. And there is a 2-year warranty on the project.
Any questions? All right, take a motion in a second to approve. Motion Councilman Reed, second Councilman Smith. Any discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 9. Consider an act upon authorizing the mayor to sign the contractor's final pay estimate number 4 in the amount of $10,439.50 and the certificate of substantial completion for the contract with Built Right Construction LLC for the Connolly Addition sewer improvements and accept the project is completed. Mr. Montague.
Mayor, Council, this project was completed by Built Right Construction. This was a second part of the project. The original project was the CDBG that the city matched, and the city took the opportunity to take advantage of the bidding environment and bid this project at the same time. Total between the two was about a $500,000 project that took care of approximately half of all of the Connolly addition, with about half more in the works to be planned to replace, to get all of those old replaced. We found some really interesting things in these neighborhoods with the old history of the World War II Persian war camp. We found barracks that were, found the foundations of barracks underground as we're trying to get sewer lines in, put in the proper easements and everything. So all in all, it was a successful project. There was a lot of headaches and a lot of time to get it done, but it was successfully completed. So we are recommending it be accepted as complete.
I know there are a lot of problems over there, and hopefully this will alleviate a good part of them. Any questions or comments?
I
Councilwoman
just got
Harrison?
one quick question. How come it took so long for us to receive the invoice for payment dated October 22nd, 2019?
I can answer that. They completed the work in October, and that's when we did the final inspection. They held off on doing their final cleanup because that was the short window of dry we had. They wanted to get some rain on their project to see if they would get any settling. And so it took that much time for them to finish the punch list, making sure everybody's house, everybody's yard was taken care of.
Mhm.
And so it took them that long to finally get finished with the punch list and then get it to me in December.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Vice Mayor Stevens?
Approximately how many houses does this take care of? If you know, if not, it's no big deal.
I can look on the pay application.
Well, we provided a map that's showing the area also. I don't think we counted the number of homes that are in the Connolly
Actually,
addition.
61 homes on this project.
Okay.
And the other one, so combined. $64. So approximately 165 homes total between the two projects.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd take a motion in a second. Motion, Councilman Smith, second Vice Mayor Stevens. Any discussion? Corr, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 10. Consider an act upon authorizing the mayor to sign contractor's final payment estimate number 4 in the amount of $25,076.20 and certificate of substantial completion for the contract with Built Right Construction LLC for the 2018 CDBG sewer system improvements, and accept the project is completed. You got a trifecta as well.
Mayor and council, this is the for the CDBG portion of the project, and the work is done, accepted as complete. And then at your next council meeting, I believe your grant administrators can be coming back to close out the CDBG portion of it.
Any questions? Take a motion in a second. Motion, Councilman Smith, second Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Corr, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yeah, yes, the motion carries. City manager just informed me that's $1.1 million in projects that we just completed. Okay, we are on to agenda item number 11. Consider an act upon accepting the bid amount of $178,349 from Sunrise Construction LLC and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award for the 2019 CDBG sewer project. I don't know what a 4 is, so it's not a quadrifecta or something.
Yeah, what do you call that? I think in strike out 4 times in a game, I think they call it a sombrero, I think is what they call it. This is the start of a project. The others we were accepting was complete. So this is the 2019 CDBG grant project. We had 10 contractors take out plans on this. We had 8 contractors submit bids. Some of the bids were very competitively close and some of them were exceptionally high. So there was a broad range there. The low bid came in from Sunrise Construction. It actually came in low enough that the city is going to have the opportunity to bid out about another $50,000 worth of work right in that area as well, which we'll be doing. We'll work on that as soon as we get into the construction phase on this one. So at this time, we would recommend award of the bid to Sunrise Construction, the amount of $178,349.
This is third ward.
This is Third Ward, and there's a map in your system, in your packet, but it's Third Ward on A Street and into the neighborhoods over by Oak in the Seneca area.
Councilman Pritchard.
I apologize if this is in my packet. But are there the requirements for the CD, the grant portion of this money? Like, do we have to spend it in certain parts of town? Or
Yes, you do. How we do this is we identify the needs in a certain area. Your grant administrator actually goes and interviews the street, and will, if there's a certain percentage of what the low moderate income is, it can rule out whether it can be done, or it can make it where it's done. So these areas were all surveyed by the grant administrator to do an income survey to identify that it is eligible. A couple of blocks one way or the other, we weren't eligible. So some blocks can be, some blocks can. It does depend on the income of the homeowner.
Thank you.
Have they ever done any of these in Ward 4? Because I'm not familiar with any of them.
They have. As a matter of fact, last year, Mr. Sazek asked us to prepare a map that I can probably send back over that showed since 2008, 7, 8, or 9. And we put together the map showing everywhere in the city where it was done. The majority of them have been done in 3rd, 4th, and 5th wards.
Okay, well, okay. I'm not familiar with it, so I want to get myself familiar with it.
Some of them might have been back when your first term went with the council. So
Wow. Maybe so.
We can resurrect that map and send it up.
Any President, Vice President?
Can you give me an idea of how many homes are being served by this?
I sure can.
Thank you.
$24.
Thank you.
Any others?
I've got a question. Maybe you can help me with this. There's approximately $50,000 that's not going to be used, correct?
No, it will be used.
Oh, it will be used?
Yes.
This
That's
came
what I
up with-
alluded to. We'll be bidding out another $50,000 project
Okay,
in that area.
Who is it bid to? It just goes out to?
We advertise it for bids. We send it to the bid rooms. We try and get as many contractors that to look at it and see it. Bid agencies, plus we email about 40 contractors that we've worked with in the past.
Okay.
To try and generate as much interest. What we received bids on, we had 10 contractors take out plans
Right,
on it.
I'm looking at that. Oh, okay. So
A lot of
that's-
times we only get 2 or 3.
Okay.
But this one it generated
Quite
a lot
a
of
few.
interest. It was good timing.
Thank you.
And just for my edification, on CDBG can be water, wastewater. Can it be street as well?
Cannot be street
Can't be street.
unless it's associated with the
tearing it up.
utility that's going in.
Anybody else? To take a motion in a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Reed, second, Councilman Smith. Any discussion? Corr, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 12. Consider and act upon an ordinance amending the general zoning ordinance and accompanying map thereto, known as General Zoning Ordinance Number 1843, by changing the classification of the zoning districts for Lot 6 in Block 606, City of McAlester, formerly South McAlester, Pittsburg County, State of Oklahoma, from R1B Single Family Residential District to R2 Family Dwelling Duplex District. Ms. Clifton.
Good evening, council. So what I have before you is an application to rezone this property, which is located at 517 East Creek. And they wish to rezone it to R2 two-family. Previously, there was a structure on the lot. It burned. The new owner had tore down the structure, and so now the owner wishes to put in a duplex. It is a 15,000 square foot vacant lot. It is adequate to have a duplex on it. And we had met, the public hearing, the first public hearing was in November. And after hearing information from both the applicant and surrounding property owners, the Planning Commission requested more information. And so it returned back to the Planning Commission in December. At the December meeting, the Planning Commission voted 5 yes and 3 no to recommend that the applicant's rezoning request be approved. So I've included all the usual stuff in your packet with the application and some maps. And then also there are some written responses from some of the surrounding property owners that was included. I have not received any additional written responses. So what you have there is what we've been provided up to date. There are some concerns as far as like density and whether or not, you know, the use of the property for rental. There's not any codes that prohibit, you know, the use of the property for rentals, but the staff had found that it did fit the technical requirements for the rezoning. Because of the number of responses that it is advised that does meet the requirements, the percentage threshold for a majority or a 3/4 vote of this council to approve the rezoning. So I just wanted to let you know that ahead of time.
Anybody got any questions? Councilman Brown?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So, Director Clifton, if this were to go in, would it increase the property value or hurt the property value, the way it's set up?
That is
And if
very.
you can answer that, don't worry about it.
It's difficult to determine. I can't really answer it. There's a lot of variables that go into determining property values. I can say that, you know, perhaps a larger structure may be more positive than like 2 smaller structures. There is enough square footage there to be able to split the lot to put 2 smaller structures. However, the applicant wishes to put 1 duplex. There are some plans included in the packet that kind of detail what the structure would look like. So,
Well, I mean, dollar wise, I mean, I don't know exactly how much is going to be spent, but I remember the night this caught a fire and it was just sitting there. And I don't know if people are willing to invest money, and I don't know, people around, I don't know if they feel like it's going to hurt their property, but it seemed like it might help. But again, I would have to refer that to Vice Mayor Stevens. He knows all about that kind of stuff. And
I can say with certainty that a structure being on the lot is going to positively affect more so than a vacant lot, which is there now.
Councilor Smith? Oh, I'm sorry, were you
yeah,
done?
no, not that, Mayor. Thank you.
Can you tell us, of those people you sent letters to, how many were objected? What percentage?
It's in the minutes there. I believe there was 21 other property owners. Yeah, there are 21 neighboring property owners on the petition that was received in December. And so that exceeds it's more than 50% of the property owners within the 300-foot radius report.
So more than 50% of them objected.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This is one of those difficult ones where you, you know, we need more in the city, but if the neighborhood doesn't want it, I don't really see how we can shove it down their throat. My personal opinion. But Councilman Brown, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to ask if it failed, they can still come back and put something there without us. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Okay, so there you are. I don't know.
Well, they couldn't, they could come back and put a single family home.
Right, but not the duplex.
Yes. Councilman Pritchard.
There were 21 objections. How many property owners are there? Do you know?
I believe there was
39.
39, yeah.
There's 39. And what is it's that 300-foot radius? Is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
I've got. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. The commission, they voted 5 yes and 3 no. Is it okay to ask why the ones that said no and the ones that said yes, or is that not proper to ask that?
I don't know that I can answer that.
Oh, all right. And well, looking at the top part here on the subject part, it has on here that it was even called formerly South McAlester. So that lets us know that these are estate-like homes then?
Yeah, actually, South McAlester
Oh,
is
is that
south
right?
of Electric.
Oh, okay, so it didn't have anything to do-
Historically,
Okay.
all the, it was a subdivision, an
Yeah.
older subdivision, and then north of Electric was all North McAlester.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So these homes are really older homes, historic homes?
Not
Maybe-
necessarily.
Not necessarily, a mixture. Oh, okay.
It's just a legal description that's used from a subdivision that was done many years ago.
Oh, I see. All right, thank you.
Councilman
But it does look like most of the people did object to it.
I was just going to say that this particular property is in Third Ward. And like, I think probably all the council, I've received letters and the petition to asking that this application be denied. As everyone knows, I give a lot of weight to opinions of adjacent property owners in cases like this. I believe that some people may believe they know better than they do. I don't. These adjacent property owners are the ones who put their hard-earned money into buying their property, and they have an interest in what goes in next door to them or behind them or across the street from them. And I appreciate the effort that the folks put into passing the petition and making sure that we got that. I also appreciate the applicant for being willing to build something in a lot, to infill those empty lots. I would encourage the applicant to build a single family home. That's what we'd like to see there. But the adjacent property owners do not want it. More than 50% don't want it anyway. I got no calls or letters from anyone who supported the idea. And I would ask my fellow council members to vote no on that.
Anyone else?
Mayor,
Councilman Brown?
I'm just gonna, again, the duplex, I know what you're saying there, Councilman. So they can still come back and build a single home there. And this is your ward, Councilman, so you're asking, Mayor, I'm going through you to, okay.
Councilman Pritchard?
What are the, if you can summarize them, what are the objections to this rezoning?
Most of them go back to the property value, the presumed property value of, of the surrounding area. Also that it's going to be a rental, that the person is in it, the applicant is in it for monetary gain. Those were the concerns in opposition.
I don't know if this can be a question, we'll see. But if we don't rezone it, they can do all of those minus, it just can't be a duplex.
Yes.
Like they'll be able to build a single family structure. They actually could divide the lot and build at least 2 single family structures and rent those out and make money from those.
That's correct.
All right, we have a couple of possibilities here. We can either have no motion, and which nothing happens, or we could have a motion to approve it, or we could have a motion to deny it. So I need a motion from somebody, or
I'll make a motion to disapprove.
is there a second? Second, Councilman Smith. Okay, any further discussion?
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
So if we vote yes, it's to disapprove?
Correct, yes.
Oh,
And,
so then that's
Just wanted to make
flip
sure I was
it.
clear.
Yeah, okay.
as in politics and in real life, yes means no in this case. Okay, any other questions? Court, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Stevens,
No.
Brown,
No.
Harrison,
Yes,
Pritchard,
No,
Mayor.
Yes. And the motion carries.
Wait.
Didn't-
Don't you have to have 75%?
It'd be 75% if the ordinance, if the zoning was going to be amended. Basically, you took a vote not to amend your ordinance, which was unnecessary, but it doesn't require 75% not to do something.
Motion failed.
Well, the
No, the motion carried.
motion
Carried
was to
to
disapprove
not-
the change.
Yeah, the motion passed. It's not going to be rezoned.
It's not going to be rezoned.
Okay. That's where that, okay, so now we are on to agenda item number 13. Consider and act upon an ordinance amending the general zoning ordinance and accompanying map thereto known as general zoning ordinance number 1843 by changing the classification of the zoning districts for the westerly 80 feet of the easterly 230 feet of lot 29 and the westerly 80 feet of easterly 230 feet of lot 30, and the northerly 30 feet of the easterly 150 feet of lot 30, the easterly 230 feet of lot 31, less the northerly 10 feet thereof, all in Block 10, Connolly Addition, Pittsburg County, State of Oklahoma, from R1B Single Family Residential District to C2 Neighborhood Convenience District. Ms. Clifton, you're up again.
So this property has been used, it's a commercial structure. It's been used commercially for some time, actually approximately 19 years. It's under new ownership, and the new owner had requested to change that zoning so that it was conforming to the local zoning code. She wishes to use the property commercially. And so on December 17th, this was before the Planning Commission, and they did vote 7 yes and 1 no to recommend that the application be approved.
And it is, C2 is adjacent to what the current zoning is, correct?
Yes, it adjoins the C2 district. So that's the reason why they can rezone it without having the minimum 50,000 square foot requirement. And there also was not any received comments in favor or opposition to this application.
Any questions? Take a motion in a second. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Reed. Any further discussion? Corge, call the roll, please.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 15. Consider and act upon an ordinance amending McAlester City Code, Chapter 62, Land Development, Planning, Zoning, and Subdivisions, Article 4, Division 2, uses permitted after review for Section 62-255 R1A, Single Family Residential District, Section 62256 R1B, Single Family Residential District, Section 62258 R2, Two Family Dwelling District, and Section 62259 R3, Multiple Family Dwelling District, amending development standards of Section 62274 Cottage House Development Overlay District, and repealing all conflicting ordinances. You got a trifecta as well, I guess. Everything's
Again.
coming in threes tonight.
Yep. So as you recall, this has been before the council before. These were some changes to the residential districts to allow the cottage house development as a use permit after review. There was some discussion amongst the council, maybe some things that we could do differently, allowing or not allowing this to occur. And I think, Mary, you had requested, some information on it. I don't have any changes to the codes, to the draft before you, so.
I spoke with the city attorney to try to figure out a way to expedite the process. And we looked at a number of different things and couldn't come up with any different way to do it. The only possibility we could come up with was reducing the 45-day period. Would that cause any problems that you're aware of?
The 45-day period.
Yeah,
for-
there's a 45-day.
Like the notice requirements.
Yeah.
I think it's 20 days or maybe 14. It depends on what type of application it is. It's anywhere from 14 to 20 days before, because they've got a period of time when the notice goes out that it has to be sent prior to the meeting.
Okay,
for
so
the public hearing.
if the planning commission approved the use after review, it would come to us still?
Yes.
In what period of time?
I could potentially have it on the very next council meeting because it has been requested by council to have a draft minutes. Usually it's not the very next, but the one after. And then also the posting of the ordinance to change. But this one wouldn't require an ordinance. It would just be kind of an agreement for use permit. So I guess I could have it on the very next council meeting.
I don't know where they came up with the 45 days then.
Does that have anything to do with allowing time to get to the planning commission?
I honestly don't know. I just got it. I'm
Because they only
talking to the
have a meeting once a
attorney.
month, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
May have to do with the notice requirement to affected property owners or something like that. I don't know.
No, I don't either.
There's not a reference to the 45 days in the ordinance. So I'm sure you didn't imagine that. I just don't know where you're getting it.
It's probably cumulative number of days.
It may be.
From the notice of, for the planning and then for it to move on to the council.
So either way, it's not a deal breaker for me. So.
It's not a deal breaker, is it? for that?
Right. Okay. Councilman Reed.
Jamie, I didn't see any changes in this from the December one. Did you say there is no difference?
That's correct. There are no changes.
Okay.
It's the same draft ordinance that was before the council before.
Yeah, anybody else? All right. Is there a motion in a second?
I do. Oh,
Go ahead and check if you're motioning or questioning.
well, I was gonna make a question or comment. I think like we talked about doing last time, we should do this as not use after review, but we should adopt this as a permitted use. So I'll make the motion that we adopt it as a permitted use in all three residential zoning classifications.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Now the discussion. The problem I have with that is exactly what we voted on just a couple items in the past. It was, if we do that, we take the neighborhood, the people in the neighborhood out of the equation, and I think they need to have a say in it. I would prefer if there was a faster way to do it, but after a month of looking at it, can't come up with a way to do it. So I can't support not allowing the neighborhood to have some say in what comes into their neighborhood. Anyone else? Councilman Reed?
I think some of the argument made by Councilman Stevens last time was that this type of thing doesn't affect property values, things like that. I disagree with that because we don't know. Nobody's built one of these things yet. Even though we've had this ordinance for a year, nobody has built one of these cottage developments yet. All the arguments that were made that it'd be just fine, hunky-dory, no problem, we don't know because we haven't had one. To take out that after review right now is, I think it would be a really bad decision.
Councilman Richard?
To clarify, if we vote no, it means we want to keep the after review.
No, there would have to be another motion. You're considering the question that's been moved and seconded.
Throw out after review, right?
That's
correct. If you vote yes, then it would be a permitted use, not after review, but a permitted use in those residential districts.
Councilman Pritchard?
It's important, I think, to keep in mind that, the rezoning review is not going to occur, but there's still going to be, review of this development by city staff throughout the process. So, and then there's actually provisions in the ordinance for, ongoing maintenance of the development, which are not far, but are more stringent than standards that are attached to, any other, at least that I'm aware of, any other buildings in the city.
Councilman Smith?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I'm just trying to figure out what the problem is with having a review. We do that, on Wade Watch corridor for certain types of things. I mean, it's the planning commission is there for a reason, and having people's input who are affected by it, I think is meritorious. So I can't figure out what the problem is with a review by the, before letting it go.
Yeah. If I may add, this is really just a question. I know that we disagreed, some of us more strongly than others last time we discussed this, but in all sincerity, how is this going to affect or hurt anything if people build 4 homes next to somebody else's home? And I'm really not trying to be like persnickety about this, maybe is the word. I'm really trying to understand why we feel that would really harm and affect the neighborhoods.
Well, I think what Councilman Reed was saying is not that it would, it's that we don't know what the effect of one of these would have going into a neighborhood. I don't know. I don't have one opinion one way or the other. My sole focus is I want the neighborhood to be able to have a say in what comes into their neighborhood.
I understand that, and I respect that. And I think that's what we're elected for. But I'm genuinely asking. Maybe Councilman Reed or Councilman Smith can answer this for me. Then, how does it hurt a neighborhood?
Well, it's not a question whether it hurts it or not. What the question is that the citizens be afforded the opportunity to provide input into what goes into their own neighborhood. That's what the question is. It's not whether it is going to hurt something. Nobody knows. It may be just fine. In one neighborhood, may not have a problem with it. Another neighborhood may not want it. I think those citizens have a right, just like they did with 517 East Creek. They have a right to provide input to something like that. This isn't something that's normal. This is something that is out of the ordinary that you're wanting to put into a neighborhood without any citizen input, and I think that's wrong.
What is out of the normal of building 4 houses possibly, though?
What's out of the norm? It's not just 4 houses. Give me a break. You're putting a courtyard in there. You're establishing homeowner associations. You've got to have a minimum amount of parking and all that. It's not just building 4 single houses in a row. You know that. That's not what that is.
Councilman, if you'd address your comments to the chair. I know.
He's asking me a question and I'm answering it.
Well, if you'll answer the question to the chair, then we'll be within the parliamentary procedure.
So anyway, that's it. It's not whether there's something wrong or not. It may be just fine, but the citizens deserve an opportunity to be heard on it.
If I can continue my questioning then. So essentially then, so I'm clear, is that we have an issue with the possibility of parking, courtyards, and that we don't know if anything will affect it or affect neighborhoods, correct?
Well, I think
I would prefer, Mr. Mayor, if Mr. Reed would answer that for me, please, because we've been going back and forth.
It's not my personal opinion, Councilman Stevens. It's the opinion of the citizens is what matters. And that's all that's important to me here.
Have you
Now,
had a lot of citizens?
if I had one of these going in next door to me, you'd hear about it, okay? But I don't. But other people may, and I think they deserve an opportunity, especially something that's never been done here before. People don't know what impact, if any, it's going to have on their neighborhood, and they have an opportunity. They should have an opportunity to be heard on it before it's done. Now, my question to you is, why do you think it's necessary to do away with this requirement when there's not even anybody wanting to build them?
If I can.
No, sorry. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
if you don't mind, so right now, very clearly, like, we're going to have issues getting this done. We've had the comprehensive plan address this. I'll address this and I'll speak my piece and then I'll go on. But in the comprehensive plan, we had exactly this type of housing and different types of housing and more affordable housing be a very large factor in the whole plan that we had. Use permitted after review is going to have a lot of issues. In my time on council, I can only think of 2, maybe 3 properties on Wade Watts corridor that have allowed the bin go through or people even approach us with it. Adding another layer of difficulty getting something done because of maybe built-in prejudice or issues or fear of the unknown is going to cause problems. Bluntly, I'm the only expert on this council when it comes to real estate values and properties. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. You might never use me to buy or sell a house. That's anybody's prerogative. But I am flat out the only expert up here. And I've listed and sold a lot of properties, and I have the ability and blessed to be able to rent to a lot of people. These may or may not be rentals, but it's something we need here. And that's why I want to make it as easy as possible. It'd be one thing if we were just going to have no insight, no overview. This is going to be really complex to build. because you're going to have to make sure you're right on the lines. You're going to have built-in easements. You're going to have to built-in HOAs. This is going to be extremely difficult to get done. If somebody comes in here and builds 4 1,500 square foot houses, they will have close to probably $1 million in this by the time it's all said and done. And that's just in raw building. That's just in the house. That's not in dirt. That's not in dealing with planning and zoning. That's not with surveys. That's with nothing else. You're going to have some very substantial investment here that I think could affect multiple generations of housing and help the neighborhoods that need it. We need housing. Right now, I guarantee you we don't have 5 building permits in the city of McAlester right now. This is one thing that will add another layer of complexity to it that's really, really difficult. And we need to be a council that allows people to go and do things. If there's a problem with this, we can always bring this back. You can scoff all you want, Councilman Reed.
Please
but
address your
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Reed can scoff all he wants, but it's the absolute truth. We can bring things back. We can kill things. We can push them to the side just like we've done this evening. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm asking the council to do is empower city staff tonight to do exactly what they do. I have full confidence in Ms. Clifton and the rest of the building department because I get to deal with them. I get to deal with them on a daily basis when I need questions on rezoning, when I need questions on property, when I have problems or issues that we need to have the city respond to. They're excellent at their jobs. Let them do their jobs. Let's not micromanage them, and let's have some handcuffs off. I'm telling you, we don't have any housing going on. Make this easier. That's what I'm asking the council to do tonight. Make it easier.
Council Pritchard.
So the reason I made my motion to put this as a use, a permitted use, is, this is these cottage courts. Is that what we call them? Cottage courts. That's what I call them. They're a small but widespread thing throughout this country. Like, they work. People enjoy them. They reduce cost for municipalities. Like, there's a lot of benefits, but they are, although they're widespread, they're still not super common. And they're not, like Councilman Reed said, there's not one in McAlester. So, if you're a developer, try to, take the perspective of a developer. They're looking at different projects they can evaluate. Maybe they've read about these. They've seen some examples. There's examples in Pittsburg County. Then they want to bring one to McAlester. But, there's uncertainty to this. There's market uncertainty because it's never been done here before. We don't know if people are going to adopt it. There's quite a bit of review that has to go into the process. So maybe it's more difficult up front. And then you add in this public review and the fear that is, I think, being voiced by this council tonight of the unknown, that can get rather large and could potentially shut down that project. So I want to remove that hurdle for a developer. In terms of property values and how this may or may not affect it, and it's very speculative. But I mean, if you look at examples across the country, it has no negative benefit or no negative effect on property values. There are actually built examples of these in Pittsburg County. And I know that those two examples have actually positively increased, or they sell for more than the surrounding properties do. So, these are benefits to our community. They're in line with our comprehensive plan. They're going to provide more affordable housing, not necessarily for the residents, but they're going to provide houses that are more affordable for this municipality to serve by being able to deliver water, sewer, fire, police, and the streets to these people cheaper than what we have in most of our city today. So that's why I made my motion in the form I did.
Councilman Reed.
I have a question for Mr. Irvin. Since this is a change to the original agenda item, and it hasn't been through the planning commission, does it need to go through the planning commission?
No. They are free to adopt the ordinance in whole and part, to split that if the council wanted to say it's a permitted use in R2 and it's a use permitted after review in R1A and R1B, they can do that. And so the council has the authority to do that. I know that was initially a question, but that was, I think, how the issue was presented at the last time was, we're it was designed to become a use permitted after review. That's how it was pitched through that process. That issue was raised at the last meeting, and so no, it does not have to go back.
So, Mayor, thank you, Mayor. So if we did nothing on this, what happens, Director Clifton?
The zoning ordinance would stay the same. We would still have a cottage house development overlay, but it would not be allowed in the other residential districts.
So this can't be individual applications. If they come up and say, we want to do this, we have to change the ordinance which allow them to do this.
Yes.
Correct.
The overlay district does not have that. It's just, allowed. It goes through administrative review. This one is asking to open it up to all the other residential districts. I think that staff has the capability to review this. However, the Planning Commission, with a recommendation, their concerns was to provide that public hearing or body to be able, for the property owners to be able to be notified of this going into their neighborhoods. Such as the instance, like if it was to go into a subdivision, the subdivision may have covenants. The city does not enforce covenants, so we wouldn't even consider that. So then it would be between the property developer and the surrounding property owners to dispute that.
I can see both sides here. I really can. Like the councilman said about people not being allowed to make it tough. I'm sure housing is a problem. I've heard that around here from a lot of people. They may not want to buy a house. They may just want to come in here and, maybe they live in Cincinnati somewhere and they want to just work down there for a little while. So, you got that. And then, of course, we got the other deal where, somebody's just trying to force something down their throats. And there you are again. I didn't realize that it was a major problem like this. I guess I'm learning. So, okay.
Well,
thank you, Mayor.
Here's my 2 cents again, is this ordinance doesn't preclude anybody from building these. It just puts the layer in where the Planning and Zoning Commission reviews it. So that to me is a necessary step, because you have to allow the people to have an ability to address what's going into their neighborhood. I'd be perfectly fine having it in my neighborhood, but I understand that other people might not be. Whether it's because it's rental or because it's a compressed area with more housing, there are people that will like that and people that won't like that. So I'm not going to sit up here and say I know what everybody wants in their neighborhood, but I am going to sit up here and say that I think that it's our responsibility to listen to people in those neighborhoods to tell us what they want. And with the use after review, that allows for that. Councilman Pritchard.
You should give me a time limit when I talk.
But I haven't done anybody yet. So.
I have one final thing to say. And I understand this concept of having input of the people, but I think that our review process too narrowly limits that concept. We're only talking about people 300 feet from the affected properties. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, 300 feet. But this whole community has an interest in our development pattern. This whole community has an interest in how much, how many dollars it costs us to provide water, sewer, police, fire. And, so when you say that, or when anyone says that we've got to let the neighbors have their say, that's certainly true. But, we need to let this whole community have its say. And there's no process during this review where those people are notified. And so we end up with a relatively small number of people having a very large voice about issues that potentially affect the entire community. We did a pretty thorough, comprehensive plan, and programs or building types like this were strongly promoted by the comprehensive plan. That was an opportunity that engaged the entire community, not 300 or not people that happen to be located 300 feet from a particular piece of property. So when we're sitting up here making decisions about what's best for this community, I encourage everyone to take a holistic approach. Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
I would argue that that's erroneous in your reasoning. When things come before the Planning Commission, the entire city can put forward their thoughts, not just the 300-foot limit people. So, anytime you go to the planning commission, you can have your say, no matter where you live on any matter, right? So a vote for no for this proposal is to include the people in the decision.
Councilman Harrison?
Well, I guess I'm the only one that's confused.
Now we just hide it better.
I'll admit it. All right. There's a motion to change something, and then we're back to this. So if I could summarize this and help me out, keeping this as it is means that, just like we just got through a few minutes ago, the public, the people would have an opportunity to come and voice whether they want something there or not rezoned, correct?
Yes. there
If
will be
it's
public-
changed, it will just be, and I shouldn't put it like this, but it will be an employee that makes the decision, not the planning commission. Is this what we're saying?
I think if it's changed, there won't be anybody making the decision because it will be included. It would be included in that zoning.
Mayor, can I say something? See, that's the problem, is
Okay.
understanding what it is that we're voting on right now.
Okay.
And if you remember the last time
Right.
I explained, we're back to the same thing again.
Okay.
Okay. The motion before us right now
Uh-huh.
by Councilman Pritchard is to remove the after review requirement. Okay.
Mhm.
Which, what that means is that anybody could build one of these without it going through the planning commission. And anybody could, as long as they meet the requirements that the code requires,
Okay.
they could put one of these in any part of the city that allows it without any input from the citizens. Citizens aren't even notified of it. Okay, that's Councilman Pritchard's motion, and that's what we're fixing to vote on. If you
Oh.
vote yes, they'd be able to put these in anywhere they want to that's allowed by law without input from the citizens. Now, if that fails, and I hope it does, then we'll vote on the original draft ordinance. And that original ordinance has the cottage industry or cottage development language in there, but it requires a review, which requires citizen input or allows for citizen input. That's different. So we're voting, the first vote's going to be no citizen input. And if that passes, then we're done. If it doesn't pass, then we'll go to the second one.
Vice Mayor Stevens.
I would just ask, I know that we're going to take the vote now, but I would really ask y'all to consider what the issue is here with allowing city staff to review these. There's still going to be plenty of review. They're still going to have to follow the same codes and ordinances that we have in certain part of the community right now. What I'm asking is to allow this to happen so we can entice developers, just like we've done on 14th Street and in other areas, to come here and build this because we need housing. I'm telling you that as a councilman, and I'm telling you that as a professional in this deal. We need different forms of housing. And if we don't get it here, we're going to have a problem because we're locking people out of coming to our community or being able to stay in our community. And that's young people and older people, because there's not affordable housing right now. And this is an opportunity that maybe it could allow it. Thank you, guys.
Everyone had their say. All right, Cora, would you call the roll, please? Would you reread the motion?
This is to adopt as a permitted use in all 3 districts.
Yes, it's actually, I think I misspoke. There's actually, I believe, 4 zoning districts. Is that correct? R1.
Yes, that's
A,
correct.
R1B,
R2 and R3.
R2 and R3. So all 4.
So just to make sure that it's clear, it's voting to pass this without the requirement of review.
That's correct.
Okay, now would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Reed,
No.
Brown,
No.
Harrison,
No.
Mayor.
No, and the motion fails. Councilman Pritchard.
I'll make a motion that we adopt it as a permitted use in R2 and R3.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Did you want to make the motion that it's a?
That's that's my only amendment to the,
Okay, that you want it to be permitted after review in R1A and R1B, and then a permitted use without review in R2 and R3.
that's correct.
Did you get a second?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Stevens, second. Do you have anything on that?
No, I just want to ensure that we're also adopting the development standards because that's not been addressed. So
Yeah,
as written with
he's-
those modifications.
He's adopted the entire ordinance. He's only amending R2 and R3 to make it a permitted use without a review.
Yeah, the entire proposed amendment.
The
with
entire
the
proposed amendment
modification.
with review for R1A and R1B, and without review on R2 and R3.
Thank you.
Can I explain?
Yeah.
So, I mean, R1 or R2 is essentially duplexes. It's the multifamily dwelling. And then R3 is, even bigger developments than that. And so these are all single family structures, but they're sort of more akin to a duplex or a quadplex or even like an eightplex. And so I think it only makes sense, since we're already allowing, a duplex or an eightplex unit on this lot, to decouple those structures from each other in this configuration. So I don't know why we would, it just doesn't make really any sense to me to have to go through a public review process to build 4 units detached from each other on the same lot that you could build 4 units attached to each other.
Councilman Smith.
Mayor, will you clarify exactly what this means now?
Okay.
I know
What
exactly what it is, but I wanna-
the motion is to with R1A and R1B, they will be use after review. They'll be overlay use after review. R2 and R3 would be it would waive the use after review. Does that summarize it?
Yeah, I mean, the best we can do is he wants to adopt the ordinance as is, but remove the review process from R2 and R3.
And 2 and 3, what is that,
Already-
multifamily?
Two
R2 is duplexes,
two-family
R3 is
dwelling,
apartments.
and R3 is multifamily. So it already provides for multiple families.
That period. It's already there. Right.
Multiple. I'm trying to figure out the best way. Multiple housing units are permitted in R2 and R3. In R2, it's duplexes. In R3, it's bigger
apartment complex.
To clarify, it's the number of dwelling units that you have on a lot.
Right.
And the 3 does what?
It's multiple. I mean, it's
It takes a review process out. One of them.
Yeah, it takes it out for R2 and R3.
They would still be the same building code standards for all residential districts. You're just treating residential 2 and 3 differently than you are R1A and R1B.
That's correct.
Mayor?
Sure.
Director Clifton, I feel like it's going to be a mess if we take it. I know I'm trying not to get you in the middle of this, but I have no choice but to ask.
Like I said, I think that we're capable of reviewing it administratively. It's just the concern of providing the opportunity to surrounding property owners. The R3 multifamily does allow, multiple dwellings, and it's based on the square footage of the lot. So you have like 8,000 square feet for 2, and then each additional dwelling unit requires an additional 2,000 square feet of the lot. These particular type of developments are starting on half-acre lots, so they're very large lots anyways.
Okay. But you don't overview that one.
I mean, your multiple dwelling units in an R3 anyhow.
Okay.
Yeah.
The process for staff is to review the plans and specs and to make sure that the code requirements are being met.
And then they just
Not to say whether the neighborhood wants it or not. If it's zoned, if it's an appropriate use for the zoning, they make sure that they're meeting the requirements for the plans and specs. That's the process for the staff.
I just got a quick question. So is this still something that will go through the planning commission as it stays, or is it going to be the same thing that we just talked about a few minutes ago? It'll be different. If
It would go through planning for review for R1A and R1B. For
R1A,
the single family residential districts. It would go through planning and zoning for review.
but R3 won't. Is this what we're saying?
R2 and R3, I'm sorry. R2 and R3, R1A and R1B would still be reviewed by planning and zoning.
Okay.
R2 and R3 would not.
If it makes it easier,
Yes.
if it's R1 is
This-
one person, one house.
Okay. Gotcha.
R2, two
Right.
people, two houses. R3,
More than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councilman Pritchard.
I was just gonna say, I think it's important to understand, because this is getting kind of confusing, that R1A, R1B, and then R2 and R3, those are existing zoning classifications. There's already a number under each one of those that are permitted, stop me when I'm wrong, that are permitted uses in this city. And if we adopt this ordinance tonight, what we're going to do is add as a permitted use, so there would be no public review process for R2, which is essentially duplexes, and R3, which is things bigger than duplexes. They would then, if you own a lot that's zoned R2 or R3, you would then be able to build one of these cottage developments. If you have a lot that's R1 or R1
A or B.
Yes, which was the lot we dealt with earlier tonight, you would have to go through the public review process, which is akin to the rezoning public review process, to be able to build one of these developments. Additionally, regardless of which lot you go through and what process it is, city staff does, as has been mentioned earlier, review for code compliance, things like that. But this ordinance adds an additional layer, which isn't too much, but an additional layer of review specific to just these cottage developments that the city staff has to review, regardless of whether it goes through the public review process.
All right. It provides for a review process if it's going to affect one of our single family residential districts. It does not if it's going into a multifamily residential district. How's that?
Thank you.
Any other questions? We got a motion and a second. Cora, would you call the roll, please? Everyone familiar with what the motion does? I think we rode that pretty hard. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Reed,
No.
Brown,
No.
Harrison,
No.
Smith,
Oh.
Mayor.
Yes, motion fails. I'd make a motion that we accept the adopt as written. Yeah.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion?
No, we beat it enough.
Yeah. Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
No.
Smith,
Yes.
Stevens,
No.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Clifton.
Thank you.
We are on to agenda item number 15. Consider and act upon authorization to purchase a certificate of deposit for $775,000 to be used as collateral for the purchase of 21 new fleet vehicles. Mr. Stasiak?
Mayor, members of the council, Finance Department has worked hard on this process to come up with a plan to be able to address the needs of our city and the vehicles that are required in order to keep this city moving. As we've discussed in the past, we have about 155 vehicles that are in different stages of replacement or need to be replaced. We've identified 21 vehicles. These vehicles range in age from a 1999 Chevy Suburban up to our 2009, 2011 Crown Vics that our police officers are driving with upwards of 140,000 miles on them, which are unsafe. What we've done is we are asking council to be able to purchase a certificate of deposit using fund balances somewhere between $750,000 and $775,000 to secure it as an additional layer of collateral to secure a renewable loan, which is our next agenda item.
So to put that plainly is.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, to put it in layman terms is basically we are going to be borrowing 775,000 or up to 775,000. We're going to have a CD there. So we're going to be earning interest on the CD that's going to offset the interest on the loan. So we're going to be.
I was going to go through that on the agenda item.
So basically
Yes.
we'll be getting the money at less than 1% probably.
0.5% is what the net is.
Any questions?
This is
Yeah,
5-year note.
Councilman Pritchard first.
This structure seems odd to me. Is this unique? Did we do this?
It is unique, and what it's allowing us to do, and we'll be explaining on the next agenda item, is this is going to allow us to renew. The note will be renewable every 12 months. It's a 5-year loan, but being able to renew it every year will allow us to borrow back up to that $750,000 amount. So let's say we pay off about $130,000 the first year. By borrowing an additional $130,000 gets us back up to the original note value. The payment should stay the same, but in what we're able to do, we'll keep the payments the same and be able to purchase 5 to 6 vehicles every year. So our plan would be to utilize this note, this money, this structure in order to purchase 5 or 6 additional vehicles every year. We're in desperate need of a program to take care of the needs of the city when you're talking about backhoes, graders, dump trucks, vehicles. I mean, we're talking about a fleet of 155 vehicles that we have no mechanism to replace. So what we're trying to do is put something in place that will allow us to get started on being able to replace these vehicles going forward.
Can I ask?
You bet.
Okay. So I know there are 2 agenda items. So we're going to buy 21 vehicles for $762,000.
Approximately, correct.
And so we're going to borrow all of the money to do that?
Yes, sir, we are.
So the bank's going to have the CD and all of the cars as collateral?
They are, which is then going to allow.
The titles
No.
belong to us.
Yeah.
That we
Come forward. Kara's been breathing and living this thing for 6 months. So
Okay, so the city will have the titles to the vehicles. We will be paying on the loan that the CD is the collateral for. So we're going to invest that $775,000 approximately into a CD. They're going to put a hold on that CD, and then they'll do a loan for that amount. So we're going to be making payments on that loan, but the vehicles are ours. We will pay off those vehicles as soon as we do an advance on the loan.
So we're basically getting a cash loan.
Basically.
The collateral is the CD.
What that allows us to do with having deposits as collateral is to have a lower interest rate on the loan.
Correct.
So most financial institutions will give you a rate on the CD, and then they'll give you a certain basis points above that for a rate on the loan. Bank First is giving us a 0.5% increase, which is tremendous. Most banks do. I mean, I think you guys have the comparisons anywhere from 1.5% to 2% above the rate of the CD. So we're only paying 0.5% above the rate of the CD on the loan.
If I may.
I'm
So
trying to decide if he's got a look on his face like he's got to follow.
I am confused. Don't admit that.
So are we putting up $775,000 as cash to
Mhm.
be turned into a CD?
Yes,
Okay, and then we are going to then basically have a loan against that CD.
correct,
So we're generating interest off the CD
correct.
by taking the loan, which is about a 0.5% spread,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
And so that's the difference we're paying is the 0.5%.
correct,
We'll own the vehicles and everything else free and clear.
correct.
But if we should default on the loan,
They'll take the CD.
They take the CD, but we will have the vehicles free and clear.
Correct.
Okay. Where is the $775,000 coming from?
That's fine.
that's what I said earlier. That will be coming out of fund balance, and it will be split based on the number of vehicles that the MPWA is going to be purchasing.
I must have just.
Oh,
Okay,
and
so-
the general fund, which
Okay.
is our police vehicles, our parks, recreation, all of those kinds
Okay.
of vehicles.
Thank you.
I got another question. So why don't we buy the cars? Like if we have $775,000 and they cost $763,000, why do we need a bank?
Is this basically gives us a revolving loan?
It's basically a line.
It's a
of
cash
credit.
flow.
It's a line of credit.
It's a line
Yeah.
of credit that we're
That-
creating
Well,
with the CD.
Are we not putting up $775,000 as a CD?
Yes,
We are.
So we have $775,000. Is that correct?
We have that in our general fund balances and our MPWA balance, which is what we report on monthly to you guys. We normally keep $1 million in the MPWA and $1 million in the general fund. Okay. You need money when you pay a payroll.
Well,
Okay. When you pay payables, those type of things. We are comfortable with taking about $375,000 out of each one of those beginning fund balances and putting it to use to purchase these vehicles as a line of credit.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm too simple, but it's hard for me to understand if we have the money and the cars cost that much, why there's a bank involved. Like, why don't we just go to the car dealership, say, here's our money, they give us the cars. I mean, why? Like, why?
Well, I can come up with one thing is, we have at the end of the year, we try to end the year with $1 million in each of those accounts, which is, so if we're doing that, that's essentially money that we can't use for anything. So this allows us to actually still have that money on the balance sheet.
It's going to show as an asset
It
instead
does.
of.
And it's not gonna depreciate.
It won't
Yeah,
depreciate. We're
correct.
basically shelling the money, and we're going to buy other assets that will show free and clear. So our asset position will be stronger.
Yeah,
I
we're
think it's
leveraging,
a
we're
little-
leveraging the money is what we're doing.
It seems. I'm going to be very careful how I say this. It seems a little bit more complex than I think it should be in some ways, but I think this is the way that the city staff is trying to generate a line of credit that they can then use and be able to sock away
For
$775,000.
future years.
Is this
They have constitutional limitations that they have to meet. This allows them to meet that constitutional limitation. Basically, you're paying 0.5% on your money for the ability to have this line of credit that will have space in it every year, and it won't depreciate. You're paying for that privilege.
Well, I mean, I understand all that, but if we don't do this, like if we just buy the cars, the MPWA and the general fund are going to create revenue next year too, which we could use to buy additional cars next year. I don't know. I guess I'm too simple to understand this.
Oh, I don't think that's the case.
No, I don't either.
Well, I'm too
That's
simple.
not the
I'm too
case.
simple in this financing structure to understand that. You can agree to that.
Can I ask a question,
Yes.
Mr. Stasiak, please?
Yes.
Can we not table 15 and 16 until next council meeting? And then you bring forward the vehicles that in each department and how much money will be generated out of each department? Unless I've just missed that in here.
If you look, it's in your packet. If you
Okay.
look at the
Is it in the
second
packet?
page,
Okay.
it's the 2020 vehicles that'll be purchased. Hey, I mean, you can look at it and I can tell you where these vehicles are coming from. They're coming up from
'Cause I see-
wastewater facility management, police, streets department, our parks department, UTM, streets, parks. I mean,
I guess I had some
Yeah.
of my concern was, in all sincerity, when I looked at this, is that I don't see exactly where the vehicles are going to each department. I'm not saying that we're not buying vehicles. I see that and I see what we're replacing and it's probably very much needed. My concern is with so much input that we have from the citizens, that we have lots of input on streets and water and sewer
Right.
and parks and statues and murals and everything else. It would be nice to see that, okay, we're going to take $250,000 out of infrastructure for these vehicles and we're going to put that in the CD. Am I understanding the structure correctly now on that?
Well, our fund balances is a reserve.
Mhm.
So we don't just have that cash to spend. It is
It's
in
the-
our right, but that is not in our budget.
Mhm.
So we're keeping it in that reserve in a CD, using it as collateral, only to paying that 0.5% on top
Yeah.
of it.
Also,
So that's not money that we have figured into our balance.
Yeah.
I mean, into our budget. I
But it's being paid out of each one of those departments.
yeah, but
correct?
Correct.
depleting your reserves can also affect things like your credit worthiness and stuff like
And
that,
that's-
which
And that
does have an
it does
impact
have
on
an impact.
what you pay for other monies. And so keeping it in reserve has an advantage as far as what's our credit, they call it our credit, whatever. it
Yeah,
is.
I
Triple
understand.
A.
I understand the process
The bond
here, and I
rating,
think this is
bond
actually
rating,
really
how's
good
that?
and creative.
They don't
I
have a
have
credit
some
rating,
concerns
bond
on
rating.
realistically how it affects kind of us going forward and in our borrowing power again, because it is a reduction. And I feel like we've done a really great job. You all have done a really great job of having those pooled reserves. And I have some concerns if we're taking out of each department, how much does that affect each department?
We fund all of it through the capital fund, which is the 41 fund.
Okay.
And they do have individual department line items.
Mhm.
And that's why 01 and 02 fund 41, which is City of McAlester and MPWA fund 41. It's a group fund for
Yeah,
all capital
I see that.
purchases.
Yeah.
So all of the actual payments for this
Mhm.
this line of credit will
Mhm.
come from 41. And so you'll just see payments on your budget
Mhm.
or on your line items
Yeah.
paying this back. And we could pay it back as quick or as fast as we can according to our budget.
Mhm.
And what we were thinking when we went into this is that we need a rotating process to, it's just like the wastewater plant we discussed earlier.
Yeah, we're just trying to cycle out our vehicles.
So that we
I
don't
understand
just,
that,
we're
yeah.
not tied down to how much we have at the moment to purchase everything we need. And so just by doing it this way, and they did a really good job, if we put the vehicles up for the titles like we've done in the past, we are charged probably at least 4%. So you're saving at least 3.5% on this one $700,000 purchase. So you're saving money and having more money to spend doing it in this
No,
process.
I think it's
So-
very creative. I'm not arguing it. I think it's actually a really good idea. I have
But
concerns
it makes us
because
evaluate every single year.
Yeah, no,
which vehicles we
I
use.
understand, but I mean, if we're talking like a monthly loan payment of 13,000 times 12, there's what I'm not good at numbers.
$151,000.
Okay, so if that's the case, we get grief all the time for spending $50 on something else. This is coming directly out of the budget. Correct me if I'm wrong again. That affects water, street, sewer. Correct?
But Councilman, if we can't get those employees to the street, to the plants, to the piping, to the job,
Mhm.
we faced this in 2009 when I got here, when people
Yeah.
were showing up to fix broken water lines with used police cars and were shoveling gravel out of the trunks. If you don't have the right tool, you can't get the job done.
I don't disagree.
So-
I don't disagree.
Well, under this system, it would remain an asset of the city and a non-depreciating asset of the city, but it's just an encumbered asset. So there's some advantages from it still staying on your books as an asset.
Well, and it also increases our assets because we are going to have however many vehicles this is that we own free and clear. So.
Because the other vehicles are fully depreciated. Like 3 times over.
Councilwoman Harrison.
I've got a question. This is an odd amount of vehicles, 21. That's a lot of vehicles, a large amount. What was wrong with Councilman Stevens' suggestion that we table this until next time? Was there a problem with that? So
I don't.
Did you
think
re-
that's-
was
I'm
okay?
not
Did
making
you
that.
rename?
I'm not making that in the form of a motion. I was just a discussion.
Yeah, it wasn't a motion.
Oh,
Here's our concern, if I could.
Yes,
Mayor.
go ahead.
Our concern is I've got a police officer out there in a pursuit with a vehicle that's got 141,000 miles on it. Okay. You can argue whether or not that is a safe vehicle. Okay. We've got our people who work in our wastewater facilities with vehicles that have 164,000 miles on them with 20-foot cranes on them that are failing. Okay. They need to change out a motor. What do we do?
we're going to have to call in a crane company. Which is going to delay the things that have to be taken care of. Every one of these vehicles are not a want. They are a solid need for this city in order to give our employees the tools necessary to do their job. Every one of these is a tool. It's no different than a wrench that we buy on a day-to-day basis. This tool gets them the ability to go do their job. So
there's no argument about that. We were just wondering about, I think some of us, about the amount of money that's going out and the different departments where their money will be reduced. I think that's at least my concern. It doesn't have anything to do with, we don't want anybody to not be safe.
It's coming out of reserves, which aren't budgeted to be spent. So there's not anything that's already budgeted isn't going to be affected by this. Am I correct?
Actually, there is. So we will be paying off close to $6,000 in loan payments that we're making right now. Those will be paid off by March or April. So when you add that into, I don't have the papers in front of me, but just the first 15 vehicles, not including the 6 pursuit vehicles that won't be available until close to the next fiscal year anyway. That total was $8,000, I believe. 7,500. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. So we have 3 loans that we're paying off that total close to $6,000. So that money is already budgeted, and that's going to be, coming out of our Fund 41, right? So,
About $8,000 difference.
Do what?
About $8,000 difference than what we're talking about. After that,
Not even that. Well, yes, because like 5,800 is the amount that's going to be paid off.
Okay.
And those those monthly loan payments, one we just paid off. We had a balloon note that paid off. That payment was roughly.
Okay, let me stop you for just a second. The $750,000 CD isn't coming out of anything that's budgeted already, right? It's
That's
coming out of
correct. That's
reserves.
coming out of reserves.
Okay,
That's correct.
That's what I was saying.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So the buying the CD isn't going to keep us from doing anything that we've already planned to do. It's money that's held in reserve because you obviously don't want to spend down to nothing.
And that was my concern.
And, we need, there's no question. I don't think anybody up here has any question that we need to replace vehicles.
Right.
So what is going to be the most effective way to do it is the question. And if we can get 20 something vehicles and it costs us 0.5% by putting up a CD that we're of money that we already are not going to be spending anyway, I don't see how we lose. Councilman Reed?
Motion, or Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second, Councilman Smith?
Can I ask
Yes.
one more question?
Yes.
Actually, 2 more questions.
No, just one, you said.
What does this bring our pooled reserves down to after this?
I don't have those figures.
approximately 400, based on our most recent audit, our MPWA will be close to $400,000 and our general fund will be close to $375,000.
Okay. What do you foresee using this line of credit for in the future after we get these vehicles paid off?
A year from now, I hope to be able to reestablish that $750,000, have the bank give us $120,000, $130,000, $140,000 and go purchase 5 or 6 more vehicles.
Okay.
With this council's approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm looking here. What's going to the police department? Because I see a bunch of.
The 6 vehicles down here on the bottom.
They're going to be going over here.
So these are all police vehicles.
Okay. Because I see a Dodge, because they're going to definitely need some speed. These kids got those GTs and Camaros.
Those Camaros,
yeah.
Those Camaro drivers should be.
Especially what yellow convertibles. All right, we're starting to get a little bit crazy. Is there any other questions, comments? We have a motion in a second. So, all right, Cora, would you call the roll, please?
I'm going to table that till next week.
Councilman Reed?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Harrison?
Abstain.
Pritchard?
No.
Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. And we are on to agenda item number 16. Consider and act upon authorizing the purchase of 21 new and unused vehicles. This includes 6 Ford Pursuit SUVs. Total cost of all 21 vehicles is $762,906. Includes all aftermarket additions. Vehicles will be purchased with loan proceeds using a certificate of deposit as collateral as mentioned in a separate agenda item. We need to go over anything else.
I think we
I
got.
have one question. Pete, will this get rid of all those old Crown Vics?
No, I believe we have 8 or 10 Crown Vics. I don't know the exact number, but I don't.
This gets rid of what, 6 of them?
6 of them, it does. 2009s and 2011s.
I think we have at least 5 or 6 more 2009s. So we've taken the vehicles that have the highest maintenance cost and mileage. But that's when city manager says that in a year from now, we want to take that, what we've paid it down to and add to it. We still have lots of Crown Vics that need to be replaced.
We really need to get rid of those.
Yes, sir, we do.
What's
And
wrong with it?
we will attempt to address that in the upcoming budget under our capital needs.
You're gonna have those, Mayor, are you gonna have those at an auction? When we get rid of them, they go to the auction?
They're surplus, yes, sir.
Surplus.
Yes, sir.
Be worth about $1,000.
Mayor, make a motion to
We count
approve.
on it.
Okay.
Yes, bro.
Councilman Reed made a motion. Is there a second? Councilman Smith, second. Any further discussion? Corr, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrison,
Abstain.
Pritchard,
No.
Stevens,
No.
Brown,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and motion carries. We are on to new business. Any matter not known or which could not have reasonably been foreseen prior to the time of posting the agenda in accordance with section 311.9 Title 25 of Oklahoma State Statute. Do we have any new business?
Yes, Mayor, we do. Placed in front of you this evening is a change order for our Washington and Fifth Street construction project. What we've done is we've finally gotten the top off of this project and discovered an item that was not found on any maps that we discovered once we got all the asphalt out and everything out of the intersection. And also there was a plan originally for City Crews to replace the water line. That water line is sitting 6 inches underneath the surface in a rock trough. This is a ductile iron pipe with lead joints. And we don't know why it's never froze or why it hasn't broke, because it's sitting under asphalt with 6 inches of cover on it. So, Mr. Burke.
Well, council, back again. Like the city manager spoke when we got.
Okay, hold on.
I'm
City
sorry.
attorney has
I have a
question.
question. This is a large change order. Isn't there a limitation between the total project cost?
It's 15%.
It's 15%, which would put us at about $90,000 on the change order, Councilman. Attorney.
Just gave him a promotion or a demotion.
Yeah, I was hoping for more than $50, but okay. I just want to make sure we're
You bet.
mindful of the
Yes,
percentage.
and that's one thing
Because I
that we
can't
looked
remember
at.
what it is.
It's 15%. It's 15% of new items.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Burke.
I was just, when Pete mentioned this, the pipe is actually above the rock trough, right?
No, it's in the rock trough.
It's totally in the rock trough?
Yeah, but from the top of the pipe to the top of the bottom of the asphalt is about 6 inches.
But part of the pipe is exposed above that rock trough.
It is
right?
not. It is below.
Completely in it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What they did is they dug a trench in solid rock, put the pipe in the trench. It's about 6 inches underneath the surface, the bottom surface of the road. And that's where the 6 inches come from.
Right.
In order to lower this line, which needs to be done, we'll have to hammer out the rock and lay the pipe in it.
And it should be
30 inches. 30 inches covered. And it's a 6-inch pipe, so the trench should have been 36 inches deep. And as the city manager said, it's lead joint pipe. I'm surprised they hadn't blown out yet.
And anybody got any questions? I take a motion in a second. Motion, Councilman Reed, second, Councilman Smith. Any further discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pritchard,
No.
Stevens,
No.
Brown,
No.
Harrison,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, then the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on to city manager's report.
The only thing I have is at the next council meeting, we will be bringing forth the mid-year budget. We've been meeting with all of the department heads, and we're excited to be bringing that mid-year budget to you. There's a couple of concerns that we have going forward. We are seeing the economy slow down. Basically, oil and gas has disappeared within the region, and also with the announcement of Spirit Aero Systems and their potential layoffs in our community, we're going to have ultimately we will have an effect on our economy. We're going to be looking at those factors as we move forward.
All right, remarks and inquiries by the council. Councilman Smith, Vice Mayor Stevens.
Mr. Stasiak, I know that we've talked about this before, and I'm sure I've forgotten. Can you tell me how much the stormwater fee generates again?
I think it's right around $750,000 to $800,000 at the current rate we are at.
And are we at the $4 rate now?
I believe we're at 4. Mr. Skimbo, 4, and it generates about 750 to 800, doesn't it? Okay.
Does it end at the 4? I can't.
No, it
recall.
goes to 5.
It goes to 5, and that's next year.
Which will generate about $1 million.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Reed.
No.
Councilman Brown.
Yes, sir. I would like to have the city manager the next meeting to bring back a report or get somebody to do a report on the homeless people around here. We can do it. Somebody give us a report, update on it. We got a bad homeless problem in this town.
January 25th, I believe it is. There's a homeless event being put on at the All Saints Episcopal Church, and part of what they're going to be doing is a census, essentially. It's very difficult to count the number of homeless people because there's some people that are homeless that don't want to give any information. They don't want people to know where they are or anything like that. So,
Can somebody from Mayor,
I'm
can
gonna
somebody
be-
come from that church and make the?
well, I'm going to be at that
Okay.
that event, so I'll get the data.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take the heat off of them.
There you go. Councilwoman Harrison.
We have the the Dr. Martin Luther King Unity Banquet is this Saturday, 6 p.m. McAlester. It's located at the McAlester High School. Tickets for adults will be $10, for children $5 at the door. The Old Town Association meeting is this Thursday, January the 18th at 6 p.m. at the Whistle Stop Depot. And a shout out to Edmond Doyle School. They received an A on the state school report, and that's in 5th Ward. Yay.
Which school do you work at?
Edmond Doyle University.
That's their, isn't that the second?
Yes, it is.
I know last
Thank you.
time they were the only A too, weren't they?
Yes. Thank you.
Councilman Pritchard. I don't have anything, so we will recess the council meeting, and I will take a motion to convene as McAlester Airport Authority. Motion to include approval of minutes from December 17th, 2019, regular meeting of McAlester Airport Authority. Confirm action taken on city council agenda items C, F, and to adjourn. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Brown. Any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. I would now take a motion to convene as McAlester Public Works Authority. A motion to include approval of minutes from December 17th, 2019, regular meeting of McAlester Public Works Authority. Confirm action taken on city council agenda items C, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16, and to adjourn. Motion, Councilman Smith, second, Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Stevens,
No.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
No.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're now reconvene as the McAlester City Council. I take a motion to adjourn. Motion, Councilman Reed, second, Councilman Smith. Any discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, you earned that. You earned that fishing.
Oh.